Hatep family, this is Ursa Ma'at Ras Hatep and Ra, Ramessu Meriamun, and I'm back with another video. Today's video is going to be a reaction to the Matt Walsh show. One of his videos, I believe it's called There Is a Creator. I may be wrong, but you can subscribe to Matt's channel. He it's not a spiritual channel, but he has a lot of good points when it comes down to everyday things that's going on. So, he gets some good views anyway, but it's not a spiritual channel. So if you're into anything, if you're looking for something spiritual, Matt's channel is not going to be the place. But he did make this post that I thought was very interesting. He posted this video that I'm getting ready to share with you right now and react to. So we're going to get ready to get into it. But yeah, again, the content creator here is called Matt Walsh. And I believe it's the Matt Walsh Show. If you type in Matt Walsh in YouTube, you'll find him. But that's who I'm reacting from right now. And this is a very interesting video that he uploaded. So let's get into it, family.
Article that I found interesting. I don't know how you'll feel about it, but I thought it was interesting. It's from the Daily Mail. A study conducted by U.S. Army intelligence has suggested that reincarnation is real because consciousness never dies.
Yeah, family. That's something that the ancestors and the great sages of ancient Egypt, they've been talking about this. They already knew this. And they say that we got better technology today than we had back then. That's what they say. But the ancient sages of Kemet already knew that reincarnation was a real thing. Let's get back to it.
Entitled Analysis and Assessment of the Gateway Process, the 29-page report was drafted by U.S. Army Lieutenant Colonel Wayne M. McDonnell in 1983 and declassified by the CIA in 2003. The research has resurfaced on social media.
So they declassified it, and now they opened it up to the public. So they already knew a while back that reincarnation was something that, you see, family, that's what I tell you. They be trying to keep people caught up in all this. That's why they corrupt our mind. They want to keep us trapped in this world so we can keep reincarnating here. That's why I tell you that. But yeah, reincarnation is definitely a real thing. It's definitely a real thing that actually takes place, and it's crazy that they are just now releasing this to the public, and also just now, within the last, maybe 20 or 30 years or so, they did the tests and found out that it's something that really exists. And it's something that souls actually do, according to their tests. But the ancient ones of ancient Kemet, the wise ones, the sages, they already knew this. This ain't nothing new. It's new to them, but it's not new to us, all us that are on the wisdom path.
Chicago-based comedian Sarah Holcomb summarizing the findings, saying, "We're pretty sure reincarnation is real." The report says consciousness is energy and it exists outside of our understanding of reality.
Consciousness is energy. Family, we talk about this all the time. We energy. There's energy. Your heart is where your consciousness resides. And in your heart, you have electricity going around your heart. Every second of the day, there's electricity going around your heart. Google it. Check it out. That's energy. We live in an electrical world. Your consciousness is linked by electricity, energy. It's all energy. So they're just now discovering that consciousness is energy. This is something that we already knew, family. The sages already knew. When you study the wisdom teachings, you're already on the path. You don't even need science to tell you. The true science is comedic science. We don't even need their science. Because we already know what's going on, family. We already know. All my people on the path. Everybody who's watching, everybody who's subscribing, we're on the path. We already knew this. But it's interesting to finally know that they're catching up to the knowledge. You know, it's a good thing that now people are going to be able to catch up to this knowledge and understand how the physical realm and the spirit realm function with one another. You know, so that's a good thing to know. But just because you can reincarnate, that don't mean you can do evil, because you're just gonna make it worse on yourself. But I talk about that in other videos. We're gonna get back to the reaction. Let's get back to Matt.
And energy never dies. The mind-bending official Pentagon study was commissioned to better understand what its Army intel colleagues were doing, sending personnel to a small institute in Charlottesville, Virginia, that was working on the Gateway.
Hold on, family. I want to say something else. Consciousness never dies. It's true. Consciousness never dies. It either goes back to the source, which is God, the Almighty, Naberger, the encompassing divinity, or it reincarnates and seeks embodiment. So the consciousness never dies. It never dies. See, that's why these people are doing all these tests and running all these experiments. They can't believe that God exists. They can't understand that fact. They can't comprehend it. They can't wrap their minds around it, that God is. You understand? They can't wrap their minds around that. So they're doing all these tests to try to prove otherwise, but then they always end up coming back to the same thing, that there is a God, that God is. Because that is the only way to prove any of this. This whole physical world is a reflection of the spiritual. It's all built off energy. Energy is behind everything physical. And energy never dies. It just takes different forms, goes different places, does different things. So yeah, consciousness never dies. And no matter how much anyone tries to deny it, there is a God. In our ancient Egyptian, African ancestors, they knew this. They already knew this. It's all over the temples and the walls of ancient Egypt. But yeah, let's get back to Matt.
Experience. The then secretive Gateway Project, based on McDowell's analysis, was a training system designed to bring enhanced strength, focus, and coherence to alter consciousness. Okay, so that's the report. I have no idea why the article is telling us what some random comedian thinks about all this, but the actual story is quite fascinating. Consciousness never dies, according to the study. Now, I don't buy the reincarnation angle here, but...
Hold up, family. I had to stop it for a minute because I got something to say to that. He said he doesn't buy the reincarnation angle. And this is no disrespect to Matt at all. I think Matt is a great, he seems like a very great person, in my opinion. I think Matt has a great show. I think he has a phenomenal show. He makes a lot of points. I learned a lot from Matt as well, you know, so I think Matt is a great guy. But this is what I'm going to say, right? I feel that, you know, it's because Matt is into the Christian faith. You know, he's into that Christian route, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that at all. But a lot of things from the Bible have been changed and altered by man. It's not the original scrolls. So a lot of things were altered, a lot of things were changed, a lot of things were taken out. So you're not getting the full picture here. Now, what I will say too, also, Matt doesn't really understand reincarnation. I'm pretty sure he hasn't really studied it because he's into, like I said, the Christian faith, which nothing is wrong with being involved in that, because that can also lead you to becoming one with God as well. That definitely can. So, if that's what you study, then there's nothing wrong with that. But you have to be able to broaden your mind, and I'm pretty sure Matt is the type of guy that is willing to broaden his mind and look into different things if it presents itself. So when you study reincarnation and look into it, then you begin to understand how it works, the process of it, and why it happens. So I'm gonna look at it that way. I'm not gonna look at it as Matt putting it down, but he just hasn't had any convincing information presented to him, or any convincing views or philosophies maybe that have been presented to him that can help his mind to wrap around the concept of reincarnation and how it has a lot to do with God and why God set it up to be that way. But yeah, that statement, that's how I'm gonna take that. I'm gonna just look at it that way. It's a lack of knowledge. Matt doesn't know any better. Please understand, when I say Matt doesn't know any better, I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean he doesn't understand reincarnation. That particular subject, that is what I'm speaking of. Matt is very intelligent, in my opinion. I just mean when it comes down to reincarnation and having a understanding of it, he just doesn't know any better about that. So that's what I mean when I say that. And I wanted to make that clear. So let's continue.
Obviously, but it does go to show just how insufficient are these secular explanations for consciousness. Because secular mainstream science really has no explanation for consciousness. It can't say how consciousness came about or even what it is exactly. But
Matt is right. They don't know. They're still trying their best to figure it out. They don't know, but I really think they know about reincarnation, but as far as like consciousness and how it fully works and where it comes from, they themselves truly don't know. But us, we know. Oh, we know. The ones that are on the path to the wisdom teachings, we know. The ancient sages of Kemet, they knew. They knew. Let's get back to it.
Its guess is that consciousness is somehow the byproduct of the brain's functioning.
Well, based on my teachings and my research and what I've learned, your consciousness resides in your heart. Your mind, all of that is in your heart. It's not in your brain. Your heart tells the brain what to do, and your brain tells the body what to do. Let's get back into it.
It's a physical process. It's a physical product. It's like how fire produces smoke, basically. But the purely physical theory of consciousness has some major problems. I mean, for one thing, you're left with the kind of the fundamental problem of how a physical process could become aware of itself. And this is me nerding out now, and probably nobody cares anymore, but I'm just going to talk about it anyway. Because I find it very interesting. I don't know how you could not be interested in the phenomenon of consciousness and what exactly it is. And I think ultimately is what I'm getting at, that I think that when you talk about the proofs of God, and I think that there are many proofs that are quite compelling. This, to me, is the most compelling proof of all. Not often used in these like debates about the existence of God with atheists and so on. I rarely, and I watch a lot of these debates because I find them interesting, but I rarely hear anyone use this proof. But to me, it's the most compelling one. Because again, it's the mainstream secular science has no explanation for it.
I think what Matt is trying to say is that these scientists at the Pentagon, they know that consciousness exists. They understand that consciousness exists because of the outcome of their test. So now that they are aware that it's a fact that consciousness exists, they can't figure out where it comes from. They can't figure out the source of it. And we know consciousness is intelligent, but they cannot figure out where it comes from. They just know of its existence. So if you can't figure out where it comes from, that can only mean one thing, that God exists. The nameless one exists, because if consciousness is intelligent, then there has to be an intelligent source that is responsible for the creation of it. So pretty much what Matt is trying to say, that God is real and God exists, this proves it, because they can't prove it. They don't know how to figure it out. Let's get back to it.
So, if you want to say that some mindless physical process produces some other mindless physical thing, then fine. But how does a mindless physical process produce an awareness of itself? So how can a bunch of inanimate, mindless things combine together to form a mind?
Yeah, Matt is right. You just can't have a bunch of mindless things creating a bunch of other mindless things, and then they create consciousness. That doesn't make any sense. So it has to be a source. It has to come from somewhere and pass down. You understand? And that source is the great God, the Berger, the all-encompassing divinity. But remember, like I said, God has many names. Jesus, Allah, whatever you want to call the Great Spirit. Let's get back to it.
So, put another way, the brain is made up of cells, of course, but if each individual cell does not have, some degree of consciousness, then how can it all together have consciousness? How?
Well, Matt trying to say, those smaller parts that make us up had to get that consciousness energy from somewhere. Some more intelligent source is responsible for that conscious energy that inhabits us.
How can the combination of material create a property that was never present in the smaller parts? There's one attempt to solve that. I guess the one sort of from a secular perspective, it's called panpsychism. And that's the idea that consciousness is a fundamental brute fact of the universe. And so every bit of matter has a certain amount of kind of latent consciousness. And so it's just, so their way of explaining it is like, why does consciousness exist? Well, just because it does. It's just part of reality. And so when you combine it together, you get more sophisticated consciousness. Now, of course, if that was true, then that would mean that like something like the sun is conscious, because it's a combination of all these, of material that is itself conscious. Which, of course, that's kind of wacky, but it's very wacky. It's not true, but it's their way of kind of getting around this problem. And the other big problem is that consciousness, if it's a blind physical process, as mainstream secular science would say, that would mean that it's a product of evolution, but which is what they would say, right? The kind of godless explanation of consciousness. Well, it's a product of evolution. Everything about us is a product of evolution, which is a blind process with no designer overseeing it. They would say, but that doesn't make any sense either. Judged purely on like a Darwinian level, if you're just to take their premise, it makes no sense that consciousness would ever come about, because it really has no evolutionary advantage. Right? I mean, the only thing evolution, right, cares about is just the propagation of the species. That's the only objective of evolution. So how does it help propagate the species to make us aware of ourselves, to have the kind of vivid sense of awareness that we all have, that's just unique and distinct for humans? As far as we know, no other creatures in the universe have. How does that help? Why would evolution be interested in creating something like that? What is the evolutionary advantage And I don't see how there would be the one. So from the purely physical perspective, it just doesn't make any sense. And that leaves us with the idea that consciousness is something that transcends the physical. Consciousness is a function of the spirit, of the soul, which requires there to be something like a soul, which requires there to be a God. And so I've always found that to be an interesting explanation.
Yeah, family, well, there you have it. You know, there has to be a God, because this energy that consciousness is made of, it had to come from some source. It had to come from somewhere. So I agree with Matt on that. It definitely had to come from somewhere. And that only place that it could come from is the great God. You see? So we know God is and God does exist. So let me tell you something, family. That's why I always tell you, we got to escape reincarnation. You got to be on it, family. We gotta do selfless service. We got to get out here and do God's will. You know what I mean? We got to trample on evil. And when I say trample on evil, meaning the evilness that's within us. You have to trample on that evil, even external evil as well. But you have to trample on that evil that's within. You have to trample on it with a purified heart. You understand? That is how you escape reincarnation. Because everybody has a little bit of good and a little bit of evil in them. So you have to make the evil in you become a servant to the good in you. And that is how you transcend time and space and escape reincarnation. Now, see, the only thing that I did not agree with Matt on is, you know, he don't think that reincarnation is something that exists. But if you do a little research and you read the right material, you'll start understanding the concept and understanding why God would have a need to use reincarnation. You know, so that's the only thing I didn't agree with him with. Other than that, as far as it being a God, a source where this consciousness had to come from, I'm in full agreement with Matt on that, 100%. So this is Ursa Ma'at Ra, Satepin Ra, Ramessu Meriamun. Remember, family, escape reincarnation, become one with God. Hetep.